Hello there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Now today I've got an unboxing for you for a brand new product which has just entered my collection. Now, those of you who watch the channel will know I put a great deal of sway on a gentleman's footwear. It is a window into the man's soul. If you see a man with shiny, good quality shoes, it already elevates him in your opinion of that individual. So, today I'm going to show you a brand new pair of boots which have joined me only within the last few days. Now, if you follow my channel, you will have seen that I very recently went on a factory tour of the Tricker'S factory in Northampton in England. And whilst I was visiting the factory, I availed myself of the fantastic discounts available at the factory shop, and I purchased this pair of Tricker'S boots. Now, if you'd like to learn more about my visit to the factory, go and have a look at that video. But today I'm talking about the product themselves. Now, Tricker'S is very clearly an elite shoe manufacturer. They hold the royal warrant for, at the time, the Prince of Wales. Now, of course, that man has become King Charles III. So the man who's the top of the shop in this country wears Tricker'S boots, and they're very much an elite brand. And to be honest, I never thought I would buy a pair of their boots because they are outside of my financial comfort zone. These boots, which I'll unbox for you in a moment, cost retail £595 British pounds. Although, by buying them in the factory store, I was able to get them for £345, so 42% discount, which really does put it within my financial orbit of possibility. The other thing which dawned on me, having gone on the factory tour and seen the work, the effort, the components, the skill that goes into making boots of this level, it started to make me realise that actually you're not just paying for the product here in front of you, you're paying for quite a long journey ahead of you with these boots as well. Because, you know, as I discovered when visiting the repairs department within the factory, that it is not uncommon for them to receive boots in to be worked on which are 30 or 40 years of age. So when you take that into consideration, a pair of very high quality, well-constructed boots like this, likely to last 30 or 40 years, their cost per wear ratio is so much more beneficial for you as the customer than that cheaper pair of boots which you will wear for 2 to 4 years and then you will discard because it is not financially viable for you to have them repaired. So the repairs themselves, well, they can be done by the factory too. When you're ready, your boot wears out, you can send it into Tricker'S, and they do a factory refurbishment program where they will put the boot back on the last that it was originally made on, and they can do a number of repairs on your behalf. Now, I believe a full refurbishment is £200, and that is basically, they'll take the sole off, they'll replace the sole bed, they'll rebuild the shoe, they'll put a new sock on the inside. They pretty much send back everything new except the upper of the shoe. There's a lesser version of that available as well, I think £170, where they don't replace quite everything. But of course, you only need to have that done once or twice in the lifetime of your shoe, and it can go on forever and ever. So as I say, cost per wear, it's cheaper to buy a Tricker'S boot or a boot of this level of quality than perhaps a boot which is much cheaper. So now, let's get on with the unboxing. It's time to see what you get from the Tricker'S factory. So as I take off the top of the box, you can see that your treasure inside comes well protected. Inside a polishing cloth, which comes into good use later because I often use these as dust sheets in my shoe wardrobe to stop dust landing on my shoes when they're not in use. Inside we find the old trusty Tricker'S branded shoe bags covering our beautiful shoes or boots, and out they come. Of course, you can use these later to travel with your footwear as you go around, but there is my beautiful Tricker'S, and this is called a Malton. The model is a Malton. So let's get the other one out and see what treasures we have here. Now, despite Tricker'S having a very wide portfolio of footwear available in their catalogue, I think what they're most synonymous with is actually the country boot, which is what most people think of when they think of Tricker'S. In fact, I can drill that down a little further. I think most people imagine in their mind a certain boot called the Stow, which is very similar to this one, but not exactly the same. Now, the Stow is the classic country boot, very much like this one in appearance, but it is traditionally seen in what they call acorn antique colour, which is a lighter shade of tan than this. And the Stow boot comes available with a day-night sole and a full leather sole. So this one, slightly different, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Now, the Stow, as I say, it's got quite a few qualities. It's the synonymous, iconic boot made by Tricker'S, but I wanted something a little more specific. And the reasons for that I'll come to as I go along. So basically, I chose this Malton boot because it's a slightly different colour. It's called Sea Shade Tan, and that's because my own wardrobe palette tends to be quite earth colours, and I think that quite a light tan like the Acorn Antique would be a little incongruous with some of the products which I already have in my collection. I don't like very light coloured tan, to be honest. In addition to that, I also have a couple of boots which are not dissimilar to the Stow. I've got two pairs of Loke Burfoots, one in burgundy and one in a tan colour, with day-night and with leather soles. And if I was to bring a Stow boot into my collection, it would essentially render those two very well-loved boots obsolete in the collection, because obviously I'm going to wear the Tricker'S and not the Lokes because of the quality differential. So I wanted something a little different, and in the Malton boot, for a start, it comes with the mighty Commando sole, which is a deeply cleated sole, meaning you're going to get fabulous traction and it's going to be a real performer in the outdoors, where I spend a lot of my time. Because remember, for me, a country boot is really a country boot. I live in the country, and that's where I'm going to be wearing my footwear. So those are the two principal reasons why I chose the Malton rather than the Stow. Okay, now you know why I selected these boots. Let me tell you more about the individual characteristics of the Malton boot. Firstly, you'll notice it's a brogue, and you can see full wingtip broguing right around the front and around the body of the boot, giving it that iconic country look, and actually quite visually interesting, I would think. Now, it's a Derby style lacing, which means the laces or the lacing system is contained on two flaps on the top rather than integrated like an Oxford. We've got 7 eyelets, fairly high above the ankle, meaning lots of protection, lots of comfort, lots of warmth as well. The leather itself is called Sea Shade. Now, I know that Tricker'S are very careful in the way they source their leather. I saw that on the factory tour, talking to the chap working in the leather room. Now, Sea Shade, its special characteristic really is that it has a sort of matte satin finish to it. It's quite flat, it's not shiny, and that's one of the reasons why I actually was drawn to it, because my other two country style boots that I own, they're quite shiny. In fact, I've brought some of them up to a mirror shine from time to time, whereas these, which I genuinely intend to wear in a country environment, I like the fact that this rugged sort of satin luster is more in keeping with the world in which I intend to wear them. Underneath, we see that deep cleated Commando sole, 360-degree Goodyear welting, which means, of course, that these soles are on there. They're never going to come off unless they're removed in the factory for a refurbishment. Really deep sole, meaning, or deep tread in the sole, meaning that, regardless of the environment, the weather, snow, wind, rain, mud, concrete, you're always going to get purchase and great traction. And another side advantage is that I imagine it's going to take many a long year to wear down this sole. So it's got a lot of very attractive characteristics. Now, that leather, I know that Tricker'S source their leather from, or Sea Shade leather is traditionally sourced from older heavier bulls, which means, and this is something I noticed straight away when I bought these, the leather is thicker than I am accustomed to in my other dress boots. It's noticeably tougher and more robust, meaning protection. And protection is a sort of watchword throughout these boots. I note as well that there is a storm welt, so a little upward lip just around where the sole is stitched on, adding that little bit of protection and waterproofing when you're walking in muddy, wet conditions. This boot is all about taking care of you and looking after you when you're out there in the environment. So what's the wearability like on this pair of Maltons? Well, clearly it's more of a casual boot than a dress boot, particularly with that satin finish sea shade leather, and it's more sort of casual general characteristics. It's something I'm not going to be wearing with a suit unless that suit happens to be made of tweed. So it's a boot which I think I will see service with pretty much every day for the 6 months which make up the autumn and the winter here in my part of the world, in England. And it's a boot which looks rugged enough, tough enough to wear on pretty much any adventure that I plan to go on in the future. In fact, I jokingly said, from this point on, these are now my zombie apocalypse boots, because should the worst happen and zombies take over the world and I need to grab one set of clothing from my house, which I know is going to serve me well, the footwear that I'm reaching for is definitely the Tricker Malton. Not everybody can say that about their zombie apocalypse boot, but these are going to be mine. So I am delighted to have brought these into my collection. Also, I've been afforded the opportunity to join a club, really, the Tricker'S club, because I went to the factory store and was able to get these at a great discount. I was able to join this club, which I thought I wasn't ever going to be financially able to, because even at their discounted price, these are still the most expensive shoes or boots that I've ever purchased. However, I'm quite confident, having been in the factory and seen these boots being made personally, I know these are going to last me out. You know, I'm a 54-year-old guy. These are boots that could easily last 30 or 40 years. This may be the last pair of boots like this that I ever need to purchase, and I hope that's the case. So there we go. Those are my new Tricker Malton boots, and I can't wait to get them on and start putting them to work. If you have enjoyed this video, I would be honoured if you would give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more like this, click the subscribe button. If you'd like to come on the journey with me, you can leave me a comment, drop me an email. You can support the channel by buying me a coffee or even becoming a patron. And my patrons receive additional video content each and every week. And actually, it was my patrons who joined me on a trip to the Tricker'S factory earlier in the week just gone. So there are many advantages on becoming a patron, and you will find the links on how to achieve that in the show notes below. So that's enough for my initial review on these Tricker'S Malton boots. I will come back after maybe 6 or 12 months and tell you how they're bearing up. So until the next time, take care, and I will see you again very soon.